Welcome to Manage Krishi Gyandeep Knowledge Lecture Series, sir. Today on 25th of May 2021, we are conducting the third program in this series, and where we extend a very warm welcome and a managed friend and a very eminent towering personality in the field of agriculture. Welcome to Dr. Ayyappan, sir. Ayyappan, sir, is presently working as Chancellor in Central Agricultural University in Imphal. Sir, just to give a brief introduction about this series, sir, manage under the leadership of our Dr. Chancellor, sir, Director General. We have started this initiative called Krishi Gyandeep Knowledge Lecture Series to invite very eminent, outstanding personalities in the field of agriculture and also in development sector to share their life experiences, the gist of their life experiences, how they actually faced so many difficulties and how they achieved success despite going through very rough terrains, but still they achieved success. And these kind of inspirational stories will be very helpful for the agricultural professionals and also the younger generation who are getting into the agriculture professions, and also the yet to come generations, the younger, those who are in schools and all now. So they will get some inspiration, and we would like to record these all these sessions so that many people can view this and get inspiration and motivation. And we would like to send it across through you manage YouTube channel and also various social media platforms. So this is in brief about the Krishi Gyandeep Knowledge Lecture Series. Now I take this opportunity to welcome our Director General and to introduce Dr. Ayyappan, sir. Sir, over to you.
Good morning, all of you. First of all, I would like to extend a hearty and very warm welcome to Professor S. Ayyappan, sir, to manage Krishi Gyandeep Knowledge Lecture Series 3. And the topic for today's presentation is towards smart farming. A word about Manage before we initiate this presentation. Manage is an autonomous organization under Ministry of Agriculture, National Institute of Agricultural Extension Management. It is popularly known as Manage. Basically, we work for strengthening agricultural extension systems in the country. Agriculture lives in villages, and our extension workers, thousands and thousands of extension workers, they work very closely with the farmers at village context. So they have to handle the problems of farmers on day-to-day basis, and they have to address the solutions. And while handling on day-to-day problems, it is not a constant capacity building of all the extension functionaries is also required, because agriculture is changing, farmers are changing, extension worker has to change, capacity building is must. So in that process, not only it is now changing knowledge and skill, but changing attitude is also very, very important. That is what our clear understanding. And this changing attitude comes from linking the rich experiences, the success stories, the challenges experienced by outstanding professionals in the field of agriculture, and linking their rich lifetime experiences with the last extension worker who is working with the farmers. And at present, there is no system for linking these two. So Manage initiated a Manage Krishi Gyandeep Knowledge Lecture Series. The purpose is to link these rich experiences with the last mile extension worker. So here, the outstanding professionals, they share their lifetime experience and to direct audience of Manage, faculty members, students, and many partner institutions. That is converted into film, and that is shared with our partner institution and extension professionals, especially the last mile extension worker, through ICAR platform. Manage YouTube channel is very popular, around 21,000 followers are there, and number is increasing. That is one platform, and we have a detailed data mailing list of all the professionals and institutions across the globe. So we are sharing this. So with this, it is my honor and privilege to introduce the speaker, Professor S. Ayyappan sir. He is Chancellor, Central Agriculture University, Imphal, and Chairman, Karnataka Science and Technology Academy, Bangalore, Adjunct Faculty of NIAS, Bangalore, former Secretary, DARE, Government of India, and Director General, ICAR, Delhi, and President of prestigious professional body, National Academy of Agriculture Sciences, New Delhi, Atal Bihari Vajpayee, Chair on Technology, Foresighting and Policy Planning, NABARD Chair Professor also. Basically, he is a doctorate in fisheries science, and he started his profession as a scientist, senior scientist, principal scientist, and he was also Vice Chancellor of Central Institute of Fisheries Education, Mumbai. Later, of course, he occupied the Director General ICAR during 2010 to 16, and also as a Secretary there. As academician, his contribution is immense in the field of fisheries, freshwater aquaculture, and aquatic microbiology. He published around 200 research publications. He guided 23 PhD students, and 2 patents are in his favor. And he is also conferred Doctor of Science by 15 universities and recipient of more than 30 national awards. He is into several international bodies, as invited chairman and member of ICRISAT India, IRRI Philippines, CIP Peru, ICAR Egypt, World Fish Malaysia, NACA Thailand, FAO, IFAD, and UNOPS missions. Professor Ayyappan, he visited more than 40 countries and man with very rich, professional experience. And as a person, he is known for his simplicity. It's a great message to all the people who are working with development of farming community. Sir, with this, wholeheartedly, I extend a warm welcome to you to share your experiences. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Chandrasekhar, Director General Manage. To all of you, a very good morning and greetings on this occasion. Esteemed Director General of Manage Hyderabad, P. Chandrasekhara, Deputy Director HRD Manage Dr. Jaya, who is coordinating this program, the faculty of Manage, students of Manage, and I believe several partner institutions are participating in this event, and also several colleagues in the field, extension colleagues. To all of you, a good morning. And at the outset, I would like to thank Dr. P. Chandrasekhara, Director General Manage Hyderabad, for asking me to be here and giving me this opportunity. Thank you very much, Dr. Saab, for being in direct contact with the extension colleagues in the field. They are the agri warriors. First of all, to all of them, a big salute, because whatever we do is being reached to the farmers through you. So you are in the field and you are in the thick and thin of agri farming in this country 24/7. And to you, a special greetings on this occasion, and thanking all of you. Maybe about next 45 minutes. I'd like to thank the Director General Manage for very kind words, but then I must say that it's a continuous learning in farming in all the time. And having known Manage, the kind of work that Manage is doing, and now the dynamic leadership of the Director General, Dr. P. Chandrasekhara, and colleagues at Manage, to all of you, thank you so much. You are building that connect from between the academicians and the farming community. So any words or any amount of words of appreciation and thanks would not be adequate for the kind of activities and contributions going on at the Manage. I am privileged, honored to be here with you on this occasion. The topic is titled as Towards Smart Farming, because now everything is getting smart. Mobiles are smart, cities are smart. So when we go to the villages, farmers ask me, why can't we be smart? Everything is smart. Why can't we be smart? Absolutely. That's what the farming community is asking today. They're asking for profit. They're also asking for prestige, respect in the society. So in this context, while we do all the farming, agriculture, let me tell you very clearly, agriculture is all food production systems, both terrestrial and aquatic, as per the FAO definition. In India, somehow agriculture is related to only field crops. Agriculture incorporates horticulture, agroforestry, animal husbandry, fisheries, sericulture, poultry farming, I can go on, dairying, whatever. So agriculture in that broad context. And then now, somehow during these years, we have felt while all agriculture is in the farm, we need to, this is for sustainability. We need to have sustainable farming. That's in the farms, that's in the field. At the same time, to be remunerative, we are feeling that it should be beyond the farms. It has to be more of secondary agriculture to be coming into agriculture, not just the production systems, but things beyond. As we talk, the seed to market paradigm, it is the entire thing that the entire processes that have to come into agriculture. So it is in this context, our extension scientists, as they're, walking their last mile to the farmers, have to incorporate many more things than what we were taught as traditional agriculture. With these a brief introduction, let me go through a few slides. I'm sure all of you would agree, India first and the farmer first. We keep talking to people, whether it's a teacher first, a doctor first, a lawyer first, farmer first, unanimously everybody agrees it's the farmer first. As the father of this nation said, to a man with an empty stomach, food is God. Now, it's also interesting to take you through the footprints in Indian agriculture. As I said, Mahatma Gandhi with Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya thought it fit in 1927 to undergo a two-week training program in dairying in Bangalore. You see the vision and the foresight. That is the first photograph on the top left. And through these decades, we are about 75 years now. Through these decades, the leadership of the country has always accorded that prime importance to farming, agriculture, because if agriculture fails, nothing else can succeed. We are all familiar with the Millennium Development Goals up to 2015. Now we are in the era of Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs. At least 7 of the 17 SDGs align to different farming activities. As I said, food production, whether it is terrestrial or aquatic, it's integrated farming all the time, particularly in a tropical country like India. I'm sure you would appreciate this. Friends, we are in the momentous times in Indian agriculture. We are going through the unprecedented pandemic of COVID-19. What we saw during the last 1 to 1.5 years is the reverse migration to rural areas, asking for more jobs in the rural areas, new capacities to be brought in. People who knew farming so well went to the cities, and now they are coming back asking for that kind of a rebuilding of capacities in them, reskilling, if I may say so. And in these times, two areas have received all the prominence, that is the health sector and the food production. We are in 2021, only 10 years more to SDGs by 2030. We also have the National Education Policy, the new Science, Technology and Innovation Policy in place, all happened in 2020. And as I said, in 2 months' time, we'll be entering into the 75th Indian Independence Day. So several things have come together, and our extension colleagues have to bear all this in mind when we talk to farmers. Now, climate, even last week we had a cyclone, and today, tomorrow, we are bracing for another cyclone. The climate change, never heard of earlier. In our times, when we were students, when we were talking of disasters, they were only drought and floods. But now, a number of climate changes, it could be hailstorms, unprecedented kinds of things are happening with regard to climate change. At the same time, we have to link agriculture to food. And then all of you would appreciate a healthy diet is the key to tide over this pandemic. And unfortunately, the global south, that includes South Asia, that is India, nearly 57% cannot afford a balanced diet. So extension scientists have to keep in mind so much more beyond agriculture, and it's agriculture to food. I'll come to it in a few slides from now. Globally, about 763 crores population, and if we look at the total food production, global food production, more than 3,000 million tons, and again, dominantly rice and wheat, some maize, that is cereals, and agricultural trade. You would appreciate the Asian continent contributes so much, also consumes so much. The largest producer, at the same time, largest consumer. When it comes to the Asian perspective, from what we are producing now, we need at least 50% more in the next 30 years. And we had produced food all the time. There was no problem. But then the climate change, malnutrition, urbanization, loss of land, aging rural population, more and more of natural disasters. Added to that is the food loss and waste. We never gave much importance to the food losses. Nearly 1/3 of the food that we produce is getting lost. So it has to be an integrated approach that we have to be talking of. And in Asia also, you would appreciate nearly 60% of the global population in Asia. And then again, half of that in rural areas. Now, all these add to our opportunities as well as challenges. India today, friends, many of you are familiar with this. We are only 4% of the global water and 2.5% of the global land. But then we are sustaining more than 17% of the human population and 15% of the livestock. And again, of the 142 million hectares cultivated area, with 60 million hectares only irrigated, the cropping intensity is still around 140%. With all the industry sector coming in, service sector coming in, till 44% maybe plus is dependent on primary agriculture. And even in the pandemic situation, agriculture is contributing so much. And as you can see, nearly the GDP, it used to be 13.5, 14%, but in the last 1.5 years, it has crossed 16%. Again, this brings in the importance of farming to these countries, both the domestic trade and the exports. Now, current status of agriculture, it's a very common knowledge. All of you know that. As I said, 14%, today 16%. At the same time, the fragmentation of land. So when we compare global agriculture with Indian farming, we have to be keeping in mind several things that are different characteristics when it comes to farming in this country. So now, right now, we talk of about 14 crore farming families. In next 5 years, by 2025, it could be crossing 15 crores. That is the small farms again and again coming up. So smallholder marginal farmers, that's the challenge. Whenever we talk of technology to farmers, yes, we do come across challenges. Is technology scale neutral? Yes, we claim it to be, but several times in the field we come across these difficulties. We are dealing with 87% smallholder marginal farmers who have nearly 50% of land and giving us 70% of the food. So now how to increase their capacities is the challenge now. The latest statistics, we have crossed 303 million tons of food grains, rice more than 120, you must be all aware of it, wheat nearly 110 million tons, pulses, we're almost there, almost nearly 25 million tons. Now this comes to about 303 million tons, and next we are targeting next year 307 million tons. At the same time, if we look at all other aspects of agriculture, farming, whether it's horticulture, vegetables and fruits, dairying, we are the largest milk producer in the world. At the same time, the egg production, fish production, and so on. I won't be reading all these figures, but just to mention to you the gross value of agri-produce in this country. It's more than $400 billion. That is 30 lakh crore rupees. We are more than United States when it comes to gross value. Field crops that we are all the time emphasizing, cereals, pulses, oil seeds, it's about $100 billion. 70% farmers dependent on this. Now, horticulture is the emerging area in Indian agriculture, more than the component of field crops, the livestock fisheries. So in essence, we produce nearly 10% of the global farm produce, but trade 2%. But what is important is a country of 137 crore people, we are a large consumer also, a big market here. So we should appreciate when it comes to marketing, the potential of domestic market, and there both high end and large scale are available in India. Now, all the time we talk of food grains, say 300 million tons now. We are talking of 290, 294, 297 and all that. I won't be speaking much on marketing side. The Director General himself is a specialist in agri-marketing. Now, the point to be made is we all the time talk of food grains only. But when we talk of total food, as I said, fruits, vegetables, milk, meat, fish, egg and so on, we are virtually producing nearly 900 million tons of food, not just the 300 million tons. That's important to be kept in mind. That's how this country is self-sufficient, self-reliant in food, at the same time exporting a good amount of food grains and other crops and commodities. But the challenge is we have to be continuously increasing this food production. As I said, amidst climate change, new, for example, the new locust that came in the Western India, biotic stresses. This time again it has appeared. Similarly, resource decline, degradation, rural to urban migration was one, and now in the pandemic it's the reverse migration and volatile markets. Now these are important. At the same time, the World Economic Forum, it did not meet this year due to the pandemic. They were to meet in Singapore in August. Again, from Davos, it has been cancelled. Now, they have been talking of transformational changes in all sectors of economy. In agriculture also, for the first time in 2019, it was talked of, and now more and more of AI, artificial intelligence, is being talked of in farming all over the world. Doubling farmers' income, we have been hearing this, this particular paradigm for the last 6 to 7 years. So the way forward for achieving this is integration, diversification, clustering the small farms, cutting costs. That's where the innovations come in, enhancing the input use efficiencies. Whatever we apply, fertilizers, water, seed, whatever, can we enhance the efficiencies, adding value? And this is where we should think of, again, keep in mind the climate change that is impacting us all the time, and then also the abiotic stresses and disasters. Of course, insurance, you're all familiar, but then more and more of these disasters also have to be factored into our insurance plans. So we talk of the future of the food farming, friends. Now it's so much diversification required, from the field crops to the horticultural crops happening, more of livestock and fisheries to be coming in. I was very happy to listen to the Director General manage to say that they are bringing in more and more disciplines and areas into the managed portfolio. And there's also agroforestry. And unless we are holistic, comprehensive, integrated, now it's difficult to not only achieve the target, the income levels, but also to be sustainable and then comprehensive in our food basket. So the food production systems are asking for more from less for more, a shift from starch to protein to health. Today, biggest concern today is the immunity. So everybody is asking what kind of food are you producing? So it's more of protein, and then everybody talks of health foods. So in a way, we are in stress agriculture. Now we have to bring secondary agriculture more and more, high value agriculture, specialty agriculture. And that's where a continuum from agriculture to food, to nutrition, to health, to environment and employment. All these are required. Otherwise, agriculture will have few takers. And that's where we are talking of One Health. You are hearing all kinds of problems in the current pandemic. Now it's soil to plant to animal to man. One Health has become so important. That's where we need to emphasize skill and youth in agriculture. Farmers have been asking for a continuous, there is an aspiration in a farmer. He says, my grandfather was a farmer, my father was a farmer, I am a farmer, my son would be a farmer. Now, this kind of a thing, they say, many places where I have been, people say, sir, at least give a different nomenclature to the farmer. We said, what else it can be? There is an aspiration to become agripreneurs. They would like to become absolutely like entrepreneurs in all other areas. They would also like to become agripreneurs. And Manage is addressing this dimension so strongly. And this is where I think we all would share the Manage efforts and approaches. As I said, people want to become smart. Who doesn't want to? Farmer also wants to become smart. And then the approaches for smart farming, as we have been talking of, is to become smart with regard to weather, with regard to water, the carbon, basically the nutrients that we are applying in terms of nitrogen and other ingredients, energy. See, we did not talk much about energy in agriculture, energy input, and then energy from agriculture. Now we need to talk about water, energy, and food nexus if we want to be sustainable, if we want to be globally competitive. And finally, the farmer also wants to be knowledge smart. And our extension friends, this particular domain is in your hands, making the farmer knowledge smart. Very quickly, for example, water use efficiencies, as we call. You're all familiar. The water guzzling crops like sugar cane and paddy. A kilogram of rice requires 1,600 liters of water. That's what we have been all the time talking of. So, what could be those innovative practices to see that we are more water efficient? We do not consume so much water. This is what is very important. Can we take to new techniques and tools when we look at, for example, innovations in water management? It need not always come from institutions that have been happening across the country in remote villages. The way farmers have been conserving water and getting into water conservation practices, or the low-cost technologies in terms of maybe mulching, small interventions to see that we use water in a very efficient manner. At the same time, when it comes to fertilizers, you're all familiar now. Instead of the large quantities of fertilizers and residual effects remaining in soil, now we are talking of nano fertilizers in different forms. They are still coming in. The regulatory aspects are still getting evolved, but at the same time, we know that there are a lot of potentials for nano fertilizers. I'm sure all of us would appreciate the genetic diversity in India. We still have a large potential to use this genetic diversity in our breeding plants and in our agri practices. For example, just rice, 95,000 different types of rice available in this country, and it goes on. Now, in this context, it could be vegetables, it could be pulses, it could be other cereals. This is the kind of diversity we have. So, as extension colleagues, many of us, have been looking at this diversity. In fact, when we were trying to catalog diversities, we requested our extension scientists, extension colleagues to look at diversity in their own areas. Because from one place we can't travel all over, but you are there all over in different talukas and villages. If you have an eye for diversity, we can be bringing in many more aspects of diversity that we have not been able to document till now. This could be another area when it comes to our extension colleagues. Till now, friends, we have more than, in the last 10 years, more than 1,600 varieties in field crops, and then nearly 400 varieties in horticulture crops. What is important is, earlier we were all the time looking at yield, all the time. Or then came the disease resistance. Then came the drought tolerance. But now people are asking for nutritional qualities, organoleptic qualities. So that means there is a shift when it comes to crops and commodities. these kind of trades to be brought in. And when it comes to the seed industry, you're all familiar. The public system deals with the large quantities that's the large volume crops, while the private sector is more into hybrids, high value, and so on. The Indian seed market is about $3 billion today, and then a lot of private companies in the domain. And then we are looking at something like $5 billion in the next 8 to 10 years. And this is where we are looking at farmers themselves. You know the seed villages, seed farmers, and then encouraging them through different schemes to have the seed produced, the basic material. And this again provides so much of possibilities in our diversifying farming activities. Again, in terms of innovations, apart from the PDS and all that we talk of, because PDS almost, we talk of a few commodities in the public distribution system. But again, to diversify the plate, reintroducing the orphan crops. We don't call them as orphan crops, we call them as future crops. It could be different millets and several other things that you will be familiar. Again, the request to extension colleagues is that to see that we don't become one mosaic, you can be introducing several things that are important in your areas. Maybe kulti, kutki, as we go along with the Eastern India, Northeastern India, in the Eastern India particularly, several possibilities. So you can be introducing several new things into our plates. Now, horticulture produce, as I mentioned, it's more than 300 million tons, and then most attractive area of farming today. And then also meeting the nutritional requirements, very important, not forgetting the medicinal aromatic plants, spices, plantation crops, and so on. And in this context, a number of research interventions, technology inputs that have come in improving the yields. Yields have jumped in many cases 2 to 3 folds. And that's where farmers are getting attracted for a remunerative farming in the integrated farming system. And that's where people are also looking at tuber crops in the Eastern India, Eastern belts, and the plantation crops in the Southern India, adding to the income levels. And there again, today, the most important aspect is with regard to not only the seed and planting material, but the health management. And as extension colleagues, you are as I said, you are in the front line. You can be bringing up you can be unraveling several new diseases, biotic stresses coming in, bringing it to the notice of the the scientists, technologists, academicians, so there could be ready solutions in a quick manner. Now we have been talking of shifting cultivators when it comes to northeastern India. There again, we have been talking to the farmers how the zoom cultivation has been stabilized in many areas. How the crops like paddy have been replaced with high value crops, and then people reporting 3 to 4 lakh rupees per hectare. These have become success stories from northeastern India. When we talk to people, say for example in Uttarakhand, in Himachal Pradesh, and we have met graduates, postgraduates, looking at maybe broccoli cultivation, maybe the horticulture crops, the floriculture, and they are all reporting something like 5 lakh rupees per hectare. And when we talk to them, asking whether they would go back to cities, they said no way. When we are earning so much here in such a pristine environment, why should we go back to the villages and to the cities? Now, this kind of a migration, educated, coming back to farming to the villages, are inspiration to many farmers across the country. Now, nutri-farms is another concept coming up. People said designer crops, let's not go that far, but nutri-farms. So the people from software industry investing in nutri-farms, asking for whatever material that they desire, investing in them. And there's a direct connect between the farmers and the consumers with due investment from these people who are consumers. Now, similarly, the urban agriculture taking shape in different farms, the terrace farming that has come up. There again, terrace farming, people are looking for solutions. While our extension colleagues, duly address the farmers' issues, there are many people who are taking to in the cities. For example, you go to Kerala, where in many towns, no terrace is free without farming. Now they look for solutions. They keep asking for quality seeds, and then they keep asking for health management issues and also market connect. Now these are all areas. These are new areas for extension that we need to be getting into. Now, protected cultivation, it is taking shape in many places. It could be simple polyhouses. It could be controlled atmosphere in different places. It could be shift from millet to something like capsicum, where people have started earning something like 5 to 6 lakh rupees per hectare, as against 50 to 60,000, tenfold increase. There again, they're looking for solutions because after one crop, after 2 cycles, they get into issues of nematodes, they get into issues of diseases, and they look for solutions. And that's where, again, new strategies of extension will need to be brought in. Now, floating horticulture, soilless farming. Now, these are all things happening in the country. People with innovations, many times on their own, and then vertical farming and maybe hydroponics. Now, these are things which are attracting the new investors, and then it's happy to see that youngsters, engineers, who did not know anything about agriculture, but just because they came from villages, they are getting a new breed of farmers are getting in. And these are something that you are familiar with, both in urban areas and the peri-urban areas. And they are looking for solutions and market connects. Organic farming, people have talked of it, and it's become quite fashionable in many cities. And to have organic produce consumed, it's good in a way. But at the same time, have we met all the requirements? Have we gone to that scale, that level? Maybe today we only covered something like 3 to 4 million hectares. But at the same time, what we require is due certification and due authentic material to be available. And we cannot be making the whole farming organic. There are specific opportunities for organic farming, site-specific opportunities in different states. So we need to have a multi-pronged approach for a good farm production. That's what is the message here. Now the next step is we need to be familiar with this because it is a health concern. So people have been talking about biofortification in different ways. While we had the natural material like moringa, the drumstick, sweet potato, nutri millets, and so on. Now the biofortified varieties are also being brought in, and this is where extension scientists would play a very important role to bring in these to the notice of the farmers. They are not GM. They are not genetically modified. There is no apprehension even in GM. There is no cause for worry, but then they are still to be duly approved at different levels. But what we are now talking of is modified bio. It's not genetically modified. It's biofortified varieties. Now the connect with health industry is very important. Health foods. The kind of potentials, the fastest growing industrial sector are in food processing and health food sector. Somewhere, we need to connect our farmers with these because these people are looking for ready raw material. They are looking for specific raw material. It is getting into the more contract farming, and then so in this context, we can have a good remunerative farming if we duly connect with them, with their corporates, and then there are immense opportunities. Maybe you can try out, not in every location, but there are immense opportunities in different crops and commodities. Extreme events happening, I mentioned. At the same time, the pests and diseases, and in this context, whatever we do is still inadequate. We have been we are being bombarded, on one side with the natural disasters, of the physical nature, droughts and floods and cyclones and so on. But the biotic disasters are no less, and this is where again we have to keep abreast with the disease incidents in every taluka, in every village, all the time, so that they don't spread and we are able to bring ready solutions. And I should also like to mention in this context the vertebrate pests. They are also no less. Nilgai, for example, in the northern India, and then there is blue bull, and it could be bears, it could be monkeys, and that kind of a menace. The wildlife animal-human conflict is also an issue that the extension colleagues might have faced. Now, when it comes to livestock, again, very important, and we have nearly 20 crores of the cattle population, 10 crores of buffaloes, more than 13 crores of goats, and it goes on. So it's a very immense, it's of immense importance, and nearly 51 crore population of the animals, the domestic animals, are a very important resource for us towards integrated farming and enhancing the income levels. The major livestock products, you're all familiar, milk, as I said, the highest production in the world, and the per capita consumption also, more than 300 grams per day. No other country takes that kind of a milk consumption. Egg, more than 100 billion, wool, meat, so it contributes to fiber also, meat and so on. Now, in this context, the dairying industry, we are expected to reach $150 billion industry, and the growth rates are very high, more than 10%, and it's technology driven. And you're also seeing in most states, they're also assuming some kind of a, not exactly a complete industrial, but semi-industrial scales. And that's where we are talking of indigenous breeds, important ones. Many of you in the far-flung areas of the country have seen the potentials of these indigenous breeds. Would be Gir, the Tharparkar, Sahiwal, the Red Sindhi, and so on. The milk production potentials, as also several other things that go along with. And it is in this context, many farmers themselves are also having this kind of a improved breeds, and there are continuous efforts, whether it's in cattle or in poultry or in pigs, towards improving the indigenous breeds being improved on a continuous basis. Now, you're all familiar also with regard to clones, with regard to artificial insemination. Yes, many of you must be doing artificial insemination, and several things coming up. People talk of, the monosex, we towards, sex to semen. That's what, people have been asking for. And we are also moving towards, higher female population in case of cattle. And the people have been asking for superior germplasm. Animal management technologies, and climate change also impacts the animals, as almost like humans. And it is in this context people have been continuously talking of managing these farms, animal farms, as with the same kind of approach that we give to the crops. Very briefly about fish. Again, let me tell you, 1/3 of the country's population nearly depends on the coast, in different ways. 8,000 kilometers of coastline that we have. Two important island systems for colleagues are in Andaman Nicobar, Lakshadweep Islands. We have this kind of a second in fish production in the whole world, next to China, 14 million tons of fish. And it's not only from the coast. Today, nearly 2/3 of the total fish production comes from inland states. Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, Odisha, and Odisha is a coastal state, Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, and so on. So those of us who are there, and where in the inland states where we have water resources, kindly give attention to fish also. And then looking to the seas, definitely all kinds of possibilities. And as I said, we are second in the world in total fish production, and it's the targets are something like in the next 5 years about 22 million tons and 25 million tons of fish in the next 8 to 10 years. Now, at the same time, people are looking into diversification of food production systems to something more. And these are pictures from villages in this country, whether it's the agri-tourism happening in Maharashtra or in state of Assam or in Kerala. So again, a lot of opportunities that are there. So can we look at this dimension, and they immediately bring 3 to 4 folds more income and diversification into our farming practices. Local innovations, you're all very familiar how they're happening. And again, absolutely with interventions from the local youth, maybe the local artisans, and then locally people who have been, who have studied maybe polytechnic and other, people innovating. And it's very important to document these indigenous innovations and also provide them an opportunity to maybe patent if possible, and only our extension colleagues can do it. And these are so very important, like, when we are talking of the second green revolution, this is what is important, given the very low mechanization. In fact, when we have been discussing, I was asked, your experiences. This is what and colleagues, more levels of mechanization that we have, and now there's an opportunity for these kinds of interventions, both in farm and then beyond the farm, for both mechanizing the farms as well as processing as we go along. And the platforms that we have today, maybe the Make in India platform, the startups and so on. So high value products, many startups coming in from the same rice grain, apart from the rice bran. We know the rice grain that we eat, rice bran oil, and the husk. But then again, there are several, at least 20 more commodities that can be that can be produced from the rice grain. That's the kind of innovations happening and S&T interventions. Can we make the same rice grain produce so much more for more money and more entrepreneurship in agriculture? This is what is very important. Now, these are a few examples of our entrepreneurs, investors, many farm youth who have taken to some of these things. Time limited, so I won't be going into all these details. Now, what is important is at this stage, we have to also look at what we are producing and what we are consuming and how much is getting lost in between. Globally, as I said in the beginning, something like 3 billion tons of food, but today 1.3 billion tons in different forms getting wasted at the farm and when it goes to the beyond handling, processing, and so on. So today the paradigm is save and grow. Means you need not grow fresh. Even if you save, it's as good as growing grains. That's what is the message here. So when it comes to India, now we are talking of something like a lakh crore rupees of post-harvest losses. These are the different estimates. They could be ranging from maybe 3% to 18% in different food commodities, made from cereals to vegetables to fruits. Now, can we reduce it? Can we bring in better methods of handling, storage, minimal processing, packaging, delivering, and so on? This brings in a huge amount of entrepreneurship and a new generation, several generations of stakeholders who can be getting into agriculture and farming. Look at this country, the diversity in India. The official figure is something like 17,000 recipes across the country, from Kashmir to Kanyakumari. These are only primary recipes. Dosa is one recipe. There are 90 types of dosa if we go into the restaurants and hotels and the kitchens and the houses. Now, so the primary recipes are 17,000. Now, so the idea is where whatever we produce have to be delivering, have to be contributing to all these kinds of diverse recipes. And this is where we are talking of primary to secondary agriculture, a shift from primary agriculture to secondary agriculture in terms of value addition, minimal processing, modifications, and not just the gross consumption. Just a few examples, like it could be in the grain processing, it could be the millets that you are familiar with, it could be the vegetables that high values being added. It could be plantation crops in terms of coconut chips. It could be the fatty acids. Again, health foods that we are able to, otherwise linseed, low values converting into high value produce. It could be fermentation, the whole lot of fermentation that will be coming in. It could be floriculture, the kind of value addition that's happening. Entrepreneurship coming into floriculture is amazing. At the same time, the fibers. Now we talked of normally we talk of cotton, jute, and a few other traditional fibers. But today, other fibers like banana, pineapple, they are also getting in, including in textiles. So these are new avenues coming in secondary agriculture, or it could be the sea buckthorn, which is otherwise considered as a weed, but then the kind of value that has been added to sea buckthorn, or the mushroom, high value that's coming up from the mushrooms of different varieties, or it could be edible insects. If you go to the northeastern India, now this itself is a new resource. Of course, in many parts of the country, silkworm pupae is considered edible. But when you travel to the northeastern India, again a new resource is emerging in the form of edible insects for an enterprise. Or the edible seaweeds, a large number of formulations that are coming in for the coastal states, nutraceuticals from aquatic organisms, or another new generation therapies coming in. Now, this is where we are now talking of new technologies. In the traditional agri domain, we talked of mainly food production, and then, as I said in the beginning, uh, farm mechanization being still low. But today, thanks to new technologies, many of you are familiar with this. I wish our extension colleagues also to be absolutely in this, because there are stakeholders of different kinds are getting into this. They're interested in farming because they can bring big data analytics into farming, IoT, Internet of Things, the remote sensing, geospatial technologies, image processing, the digital farming, the artificial intelligence, machine learning, blockchain. I can go on, sensors, robots, each one having that so much of potentials in farming. Only thing is we have to marry the ideas, we have to match the demand and the supply, and the people in the other domains are not familiar with agriculture. So how we can make them feel at home in farming and use these innovations is very important. For example, the artificial intelligence in water management today, or the big data analytics in agriculture, or the digital farming that's happening in many areas through companies, or the solar wind hybrids and many of our farmers taking to this, or the agrivoltaic system. Many about the solar energy, and farmers also getting into this. So solar farming happening in different ways, or the agri robots. These are examples of the coconut plucking from Kerala and Tamil Nadu, and then how these given the labor costs. And I'm sure you all would agree, labor costs are prohibitive, and then in many places 600 to 700 rupees a day, with being the labor cost. Paddy farming, coconut cultivation are becoming very difficult. So in this context, many innovations coming in, and only at this time the challenge is how to scale them up. That's where many of these are stopping. They're not assuming a full scale delivery in the villages. And that's where we are talking of a combination of the innovators and the fabricators, so that the farmers are convinced. Otherwise, what's happening is all of them are stopping at a level because there is no ready market. And the market says, let there be hundreds of units of those implements, then only we'll be able to validate. So we are stuck in this at this stage of how to scale them, and at the same time create a demand for these things. So this is where our youth entrepreneurs have a big role to play. And then advanced technologies for spraying, many of you are familiar. Imaging technologies, including for disease forecasting, crop forecasting. Many of you must be looking at this, or the kind of natural resource assessment. Now each one is science driven, technology driven, and absolutely doable, implementable in our villages. And fortunately, I must mention the tele density has gone up so much. We are told more than 100 crores of mobile phones, and many of them are smart, including in the villages. Only thing is, how do we tap this potential? And in Manage, I am aware you are offering any number of courses towards these aspects. And I'm sure our graduates in Manage, many of them have proven their capacities, abilities in remote areas to bring in technology to the farmers to force doorstep. And that's very encouraging. And today, this is the kind of, these are not pictures made, absolute photographs, and this is how farmers are using some of these. And this is where we have been able to make a difference. I would not go into too many details, but I'd like to mention these are case studies. Absolutely remote villages, difficult districts, but I can give examples of 2.5 acres, 3.5 lakh rupees with integrated farming. In another district, of course, these are some districts from the state of Karnataka, but having studied them, I'm mentioning this. It's something like 1 acre, bringing up 1.7 lakh rupees. When all of us are distressed saying that farming doesn't bring me 30,000 rupees, 40,000 rupees, I would like to mention, having interacted with thousands of farmers, I must mention any farmer, let it be paddy, sugarcane, it's a coconut, it's a dairy, it's fish, any farmer who spends his time in the farm, who gives his time, attention in the farm, no farmer has lost in farming. Only those farmers, absentee farmers, have lost. And farmers are absolutely convinced. And then one farmer asked me, let's talk of skills in farming. Do you know how many skills are required? I asked him, you tell me. He said, to be a successful farmer, 50 skills are required. I asked him, you give an example. He said, just to have a dairy. He said, first of all, I should know what kind of breed to select, how to bring the cattle, and how to manage it, how to sit down even for milking. So, friends, I was taken aback when he told me that 50 skills are required to be a successful farmer. Unfortunately, our farmers, unfortunately, we also don't give that respect to farming, saying that 50 skills are required. To the society, we would like to say, to be a successful doctor, you require skills. To be a successful farmer, you require skills. One farmer asked me the rural wisdom, let me tell you, he asked me what is, very, very, very interesting. He said, what is knowledge? And, what is information? What is wisdom? I tried to Google and all that. He said, don't do all that. He said, because you are from agriculture, tomato is eatable. Tomato is edible. That is information. Tomato is a fruit. It is not a vegetable. And that is knowledge. Tomato is a fruit, but don't use it in fruit salad. That is wisdom. I said, I will remember this for life. Friends, our farmers in villages, there is so much wisdom in them. Today, what they are asking is for recognition, for a platform to play their roles and to demonstrate. So I can go on and on. This person, the whole family is into farming. I'm not exaggerating. We have documented this for nearly 6 years, just from 1.25 acre in having integrated farming. But right up to market, lot of processing, he earns more than 6 lakh rupees. Hats off to this farmer from 1.25 acre. Another person, 1 acre, again 3 to 4 lakh rupees. I can go on. But these people are making a difference in farming. And today, coming back to our COVID pandemic, it's a medium impact on farming. It's not a high impact. Fortunately, our farmers' resilience in farming, they are going on with their activities. Otherwise, there would have been such famine in this country. I must not mention that, but the farmers are doing their job. And then also in the villages, new practices of social distancing are finding their practices are being followed. And only thing is, farm mechanization is to be intensified. Farmer to consumer direct, a new method has evolved in most of the urban, peri-urban areas, and the FPOs that you're all familiar with and agri startups have started receiving unprecedented emphasis and attention in these 1.5 to 2 years. So now what we are projecting in the next 10 years, we think the farm income levels can be enhanced by natural resource management practices by about 15%, input management by about 10%, through varieties and breeds 15%, health management 10%, integrated farming system 30%, add value 10%, maybe markets 10%. These are only kind of, we have kind of projections. So what are the small farmer population, small marginal farmer, more than 90% in the coming days. Food production, 75% has to come from them. Gender mix will be 60% female, 40% male. And mechanization, at least 1/3 of the whole agriculture in the country has to be mechanized from the present about 10%. So now this is where we are talking of both farm income and non-farm income. Let's also not neglect the importance of non-farm income, friends. Today in the around the villages, several agri industries, other industries have come up. So non-farm income also has come in. At the same time, off-farm income, farm related income, that's what has to be enhanced through different measures. Now, all these bring us to smart farming for small farmers. If we can bring in all these aspects, can we talk of the smart farming is the question. At this time, I should not be bringing coal to the castle, talking about agribusiness in a managed platform. You are doing this in such umpteen measures, but just to bring to the notice of our extension colleagues, please talk to farmers also about agribusiness. There are again immense opportunities in the input subsystem. They can collectively bring inputs in the product, like the village, stores that we have selling pesticides, all those. We have been able to improve their quality with the courses and all that. You know about those things. But then any amount of subsystems are important, and agribusiness is the fastest growing. As I said, agribusiness and food processing are the fastest growing subsectors today in the whole world, not only in this country. And then the different components, that we have been talking of. It could be logistics, it could be food retail, and so on. Particularly at this time of pandemic, and that's where we are now talking of technology partnership framework. Many youth in villages tell me, sir, can we do something else other than getting into the farm? Of course, getting into the farm means getting into the slush. Yes, we have been trying to tell people agriculture is so much more than just plowing and seeding, plowing, and then just the harvesting. Many people, society largely identifies agriculture as just plowing and harvesting. Now that dimension has to be changed, and the extension colleagues would also do a great deal of good when we talk of technology partnerships. All of them can be technology partners in different ways, in their own ways. And fortunately, we have the policies in place. For example, science, technology, innovation policy. Innovation policy, fortunately, today provides for all these. Can we bring them into this fold, including for financing, if it's possible? Many places I have traveled, and people say, look here, I have evolved this particular design of a weeder. Now I want to produce in large quantities. Now the problem is, in large quantities, fabricator says, you show me the market. Now somewhere he is getting stuck, he's not going beyond, as I mentioned. Now people say, can I register? Can I patent is a bigger thing, but licensing, registering, just having a trademark, different forms of protection are available. Can we help our farmers? Maybe progressive farmers, you call them as whatever, forward looking farmers. They have all this, but then they want a kind of a guidance, a hand holding for this kind of protection, intelligence, whatever we talk of, IP management. Can we help them? Is another thing that we keep talking of. And this way we talked of, you are very familiar with the business incubators. I had a chance to study about 100 agri startups, and then today, about 700 agri startups, and then we talked to all of them, including Manage, including in the NABARD, including many places. We went on talking to people, and then people are into disruptive innovations in different ways, and then they say, definitely give us a chance, we'll make farm distress to de-stress. I mean, see these are not my words. These are the words coming from agri startups and entrepreneurs. Now the question is, are we there? Now these are all the photographs from the field in Maharashtra, in Chennai, and so on. Now the top 4 growing subsectors after advanced manufacturing and robots is the tech and new food. And that's where we have a diverse agri canvas, beyond farm activities, and our farmers also, because many times we are told decongest Indian farming. There are too many people within the farm of 1 acre, 2 acre, 5 acres, the whole family, maybe 2 families, maybe 10, 15 people are there. Can we give them some other opportunities? Can we skill them in different ways related to farm, not taking them away from the farm? Because the kind of basic knowledge that they have about agriculture is very difficult to bring in again. But they should be there in the farm at the same time, doing different things other than the routine that we were doing earlier. So this is where we went on identifying. This will be bookish if I say this. So several areas where people can be getting into this kind of agri startups, and then we just started listing all of them in different ways. And that's where we now need innovative financing, the large number of angel investors coming in, and particularly in the southern states, as we have seen, Tamil Nadu, for example, in the city of Coimbatore, there are 250 angel investors. and that kind of things happening, the digitized fintech. Now, these are all such paradigm shifts in Indian agriculture in the last 70 years. 50 years, 60 years, we talked of production agriculture. Today, in the last 10 to 15 years, such a big change is happening. Non-traditional players are coming into agriculture, and agriculturists are taking into different ways of, you go to Maharashtra, you go to Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Tamil Nadu, these are things that are happening around us, and that's where we need to be institutionalizing them, scaling them up and institutionalizing them. Just for example, innovations, because they're farmer innovations, we call them as finnovations. Why not? It could be from Assam, it could be from Karnataka, it could be mushroom, it could be precision farming. Now, let me tell you, this precision farming, these are absolutely not in, they're not gone to a college. There's one Mr. Rami Reddy guiding 600 farmers in rose cultivation. Every day around Bangalore, 10 crore rupees worth floriculture flower trade. But unfortunately, this pandemic has hit all of them so very badly. But I'm sure we'll overcome all this. And then if we go to a rose farm, as I mentioned, it could be terrace farming in Kerala, or it could be goat farm, goat milk being sold at 300 rupees a liter, and he produces 200 liters a day. So you can imagine 60,000 rupees turnover a day. I can go on and on. So these are innovations that are coming in, or it could be a coconut, a simple screw on the top of at the coconut head, 5 rupees more, or bamboo water bottles from Assam to replace plastic water bottles. So we are amazed at the people's innovations and aspirations, and then the anxiety to become important in the society through farming. And I must mention at this stage, we have the National Education Policy 2020 in place to provide for a holistic education, comprehensive. So it could be agriculture and non-agriculture. Everybody can be coming in. Whoever is interested in agriculture is an opportunity. And this is where we are talking of science, technology, engineering, and medicine to science, technology, engineering, agriculture, and management. Because in a country where, as I said, more than 50% population depends on agriculture, it cannot be STEM. It has to be STEAM. And very quickly, you are familiar. We have now about 75 agriculture universities, about 1 lakh graduates coming out from different universities in different forms. But then manpower, still we need double the manpower that we are producing. That again is the scope of farming in India. One slide I just want to share with you is everybody is a scientist today. He should be a scientist, because otherwise the research density officially is that we have only 255 researchers per million population. 255, whereas the global average is nearly 1,500. So only 255 researchers in all fields, not agriculture. It could be in atomic energy, it could be in machinery, industry, and so on. So 255 into 1370 million. So all of that makes not more than 3 lakh people in doing science and technology. That's not enough. When it comes to agriculture, we have counted all number of scientists, all institutions, all KVKs, all. We are not more than 1 lakh people, including extension colleagues. So 1 lakh people, catering to nearly 65 crore farmers. So you can imagine the pressure. That's where I said salutations to the extension colleagues who are doing a great job in the field. We understand your difficulties, being in the field, the kind of demands on you, and the kind of deliveries you have to make. And that's where we are requesting anybody in agriculture, anybody interested in agriculture, should contribute to agriculture. Then only we can meet the demands of this country, such a huge country, with regard to food, feed, fodder, fiber, fuel, flour, fish. I can go on. The kind of demands that we have. And that's where we say agriculture is everybody's business. It's not one department or one institution or one individual or one group of people. Agriculture is everybody's business in different ways. Having said this, now this is where I think I'm coming to the end of this talk. We all look for sustainable agriculture. We also look for good science, good sense. Because you're all in the field. many times we need lot of feedback from the field. To even work on projects, we require feedback from the field. And then good sense and skills and a good farm business combined. And as the farmers talk of PPP, they say we want profit definitely, but we want prestige. And that respect to the farmer, as we respect a doctor, as we respect a teacher in the society, an equal or more amount of this respect to the Annadata, because they all say, sir, you all say Annadata, but then we know what we are getting. I mean that is the inner cry of a farmer in this country across. So can we contribute in whatever manner possible to his esteem in the society and a partnership. And with these, we all look for, particularly today, for a healthy India, for a very healthy India and a happy India. With these words, I would like to thank you for this opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Very, very detailed presentation. I think the entire gamut of agriculture and all the allied sectors and agribusiness, agriculture, education, everything is covered, sir. Now I request all the participants to go for question answer session, please.
Sir, good morning, sir. Namaste, sir. I am Dr. Balasubramani, working as faculty, sir.
Stop sharing.
Sir, it was a really wonderful presentation, sir. Holistically covered everything, the future technologies which is required for taking forward the agriculture for future generation. Sir, you had mentioned about the fusion technologies. It is really very worthy and it is very useful, sir, for future generation. Is there any separate projects or any intervention is going on in ICAR system, sir, to work on fusion technologies?
Thank you, Dr. Balasubramani. Yeah, if little effort with regard to bringing in new sciences. At the same time, I must mention the basic the human resource was built around basically production agriculture. Now, many IITs are coming into it because they are bringing in these. And I must also mention many engineering colleges. Of course, agricultural engineering institutions are working on these. At the same time, there are many engineers, rank outsiders, non-traditional agriculturists who are interested in applying this in farming. Because as you have seen, in the health industry, there are a lot of applications already. So now they're looking at agriculture as a potential area for application. So from our side, the effort should be to bring them, introduce them into concepts. And then they also say, you define a problem in agriculture, we will build the solution. And very happy to tell you that many engineering colleges are assigning their students projects in farming. So, they build up these solutions. So these are happening, but then this should happen, given the canvas of agriculture, this should happen in a much, much, much bigger way. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
It was a wonderful presentation. It takes a lot of time for us to internalize all the ideas. There is no doubt in that. It has given various new ideas for manage family, me and all my colleagues. Sir, actually, this smart farming, this gives sort of additional responsibility for the profession of agricultural extension. The reason is, when we talk about smart farming, we are talking about smart farmer with smart ideas, and that has to go from smart extension worker. And that smart extension worker is not a one extension worker which is functioning today. It is not just bridging technological gap. He has to be a technology specialist and also address other supporting factors like addressing credit gap, infrastructure gap, and linking him to provide handholding support starting from sowing till he count the money and put it in his pocket. So again, we go back to the first class, sir, extension, agriculture extension. Extension worker is friend, philosopher, and guide, but he should be more competent. It gives enormous responsibility for us, this presentation.
Thank you very much, Dr. for this kind words.
Sir, good afternoon, sir. Myself, Dr. Shaji, faculty here in Center for Extension in Agri-Allied Sector. Sir, my voice is audible?
Yes, Dr.
Yes.
Sir.
Yeah. So, sir, basically, I'm a person, this animal husbandry background. And one actually thing that is coming into my mind that by and large, the extension in animal husbandry, livestock sector is weak. It is discussed in several forums, sir. And one of the major reason that has been cited by most of the experts that focus of the animal husbandry department, who are the major stakeholder and directly in touch with the farmers, that focuses on sir health aspect and reproductive aspect of the animal. And really there is need to work on the extension part at policy level, sir, how we can intervene, how we can, that means formulate a policy where the focus can be gradually shifted from health and reproductive aspect to the extension and some knowledge enrichment level to the farmers, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Shaji. In a way, in the name of specialization, I think we also had a silos built in. Today, any Indian farmer, you go to Eastern India, Southern India, wherever, it's all integrated farming, as we are aware of. And now we are looking at the zoonotic diseases, for example. It's, the connect between the animal and the plant and the soil is also becoming evident. Unfortunately, in our extension system, what we did was we started addressing only one or two commodities, while the farmer, a typical Indian farmer, has all the commodities, mostly in his farming system. And when we are not able to provide solutions holistically, kind of the respect for us from the farmer also kind of dwindled in many places. I'm just sharing frankly. So then we started introducing different disciplines. Okay, let there be an agronomist, let there be one animal specialist, let there be one aquaculture, this way. But this again, because it was not a holistic team, we all started addressing my own profession in my own manner, not addressing the farmers' issues. So these kind of created dichotomies, and so on. Maybe, and then now it's too late to discuss the agricultural universities also in the way they have been designed, and they are going off. Earlier the integrated universities gave us a scope to appreciate each other, the domain better. Now that also they have been given. So there are many issues. But for today's discussion, I think when we go to a farmer, when we go to a physician, he understands our system holistically. I think when we go to a farmer also, we have to understand his difficulties, his problems holistically, rather than just a commodity approach. And for this, an amount of orientation, an amount of skill development is required. At the same time, an attitudinal change also. And I am there for the farmer as a farmer holistic, not just a commodity. Has to be somewhere built in. And you said policy change. Policies, I think quite still a distant way to have holistic policy for extension. But manage, for example, has been an agricultural extension. It is not agriculture extension. So to that extent, your efforts are really bringing in some kind of a synthesized, synergistic, holistic approach. And that's one ray of hope. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Your presentation, sir, you made an important statement by 2050. We need another 50% more food production to ensure the global food security. Sir, in this context, India having so much of geographical area and different agroclimatic zones and production potential for producing different animal as well as plant food products. I see there is a lot of opportunity for India to emerge as global leaders in agriculture. Sir, in fact, all the requirements what we have, sir, the great institutional network of research institutional network of ICAR, we have more than 120 research organizations, and every district level we have Krishi Vignan Kendras. it is not out of the context if you say our Krishi Vigyan Kendras are the nearest available rural agriculture universities for a farmer at a district level. So they have specialists, they have demonstration farms, and they have good connectivity with the rest of the scientific world. So having so much, I see great opportunity for Indian agriculture to lead in a global platform, because when we move towards 2050, this problem will be faced by every country. Somebody has to address that. I think India has a lead role. That is what my thinking, sir. You have to just correct me, sir.
Actually, you're very right, Dr. Saab. Thank you very much for these remarks. And this is what, the optimistic note that we have. And fortunately, as you said, the kind of agroecological zones that we have, more than 127, many more being documented, that many other countries lack. And as you said, the farming community with more than 5,000 years of agri background, the traditional knowledge that we have, and an institutional framework that any country can be envied, can envy us. I mean, so these are all things, absolutely the assets that we have. Only thing is on the challenging side, what's coming up is the climate change, which is really staring at us, and the stresses, the biotic stresses that we had never come across earlier. So if we only are able to address these, there should be absolutely no question why we will not be able to produce this. And our track record shows that in spite of all difficulties, our food production levels have been consistently increasing. And then after we had the self-reliance after the 60s, we have never looked back, not only in food grains, in all dimensions of food. Not only food, I mentioned, other commodities. So there is no doubt at all. Only thing is the interest in agriculture, the youth were to be retained in agriculture, agriculture to be respected as an esteemed profession, and they take pride in doing farming. Now that element has to be somewhere ignited again in our youth. Otherwise, now we see a lot of fallow lands. Fallow lands is an example. The recent estimate was about 19 million hectares of fallow land across the country. Should we leave land fallow for any reason? Maybe it's due to degradation, it should be ownership issues and several things. But then why should we leave any land fallow? So if we take some of these, if we consider some of these concerns and then address them, absolutely no question why we should be worried at all about our food production progress in this country, holistic food production, not only in one commodity. Thank you very much, Dr.
Sir, one thing, sir, during this pandemic, sir, all the organized sector across the globe has been affected, sir. But except this unorganized sectors. But in agriculture, we say that agriculture is unorganized in India, but still we have not faced much problem. Still, unorganization sector in agriculture is a strength for us. What is your opinion, sir?
Actually, sometimes, because we deliver, we are also put at a disadvantage. That should not happen. We delivered, we have been delivering, the farmer has been delivering, come rain, come shine, come pandemic, he has been delivering. For that, he should not be also punished. Due, as I said, due facilities, due whatever is required to make it more organized should be provided, and he should be respected. I mean, so kindly that point, please appreciate. And as you said, only farming and agriculture and health have been working overtime during this pandemic. Otherwise, we couldn't have survived. And that point should be appreciated. It is shown. It is shown in the GDP levels. Even in these 1.5 years, from 14.5, 15, it has gone up to 16.1. Recent year is about 17%. So that point should be appreciated, and his contribution should be duly appreciated and provided for. Thank you.
We have initiated from managed side, we have initiated Fight COVID and Save Farmer campaign with the help of our partner institution and all the trainees and students who are all working with managed. It's a scientific social responsibility approach that we could able to conduct 255 programs across the country only online, sir, and reaching 42,500 farmers. And the number is growing, sir. Response is very good.
Congratulations, Dr. Saab. I'm sure, innovative efforts under your leadership will, will manage a catalyst in all these efforts. Grateful to you. Thank you.
But it is not even a drop in the ocean. Long way to go. But
No,
yeah, it's
catalyst is
catalyst.
always.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
It's very good, Dr. Very good.
Yeah, Dr. Renuka, please.
Good afternoon, sir. Myself, Dr. Renuka. I am a faculty in Manage, working in Natural Resource Management, and it's wonderful session, sir. It's very good session we heard.
Dr. Renuka, kindly be louder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Is it audible now? Yeah. Is it okay?
It's audible. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a wonderful session, sir. And particularly, sir, how this rain-fed farmer can become the smart farmer. That mainly the schemes or policies relating to the rain-fed agriculture is very limited, sir. Particularly, majority cases, this watershed management or under PM case, where small interventions are there for the rain-fed farmers, and nearly 60% of our land is rain-fed land. How this rain-fed farmer can become the smart farmer, and what are the strategies required to become the smart farmer in rain-fed areas, sir?
Thank you, madam. As you are aware, of course, apart from, I won't list those things. People talk of water conservation, people got high value crops and all that. But then animal component has always proven a very critical element in improving the income levels of a rain-fed farmer. Wherever people have kept, it could be ruminants, small ruminants, it could be goat, sheep, and smaller animals, poultry, and all that. It could be, cattle, whatever. So, animal component in a rain-fed farmer always has shown that 2/3 of the income of a rain-fed farmer could be coming in from the animal component. And that's where, any intervention that has been made, of course, as a natural NRM specialist, water conservation technologies and how to, have water, maybe water storage, the water gels, or maybe mulching. I mean, those kinds of things that we keep going on. At the same time, the agroforestry component that can be built into rain-fed farming is another thing. So what we have seen is, so these two, perennials and livestock, could make a big difference for a rain-fed farmer. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
By bringing on-farm, off-farm, and non-farm activities, income-generating activities to agriculture, you have altered the definition of agriculture from growing potato and tomato alone. It is very much relevant, sir. You talked about agri-tourism, which fetch a lot of money actually to the farmers. And some farmers were around the cities, around the temple towns, around the hill stations. There is a lot of opportunity for this kind of activity. That is one example. Of course, you highlighted several revolutionary ideas of that nature, which can benefit farmers.
Thank you.
More questions from the audience?
One, if I permit.
Yeah, please.
That's a wonderful presentation. Myself, Dr. Aturi, Program Officer. I'm very fascinated to listen to you about this information, knowledge, and wisdom, because I'm coming from that background to understand the farmer's perspective about what is data, what is information, what is knowledge. But there's a lot of changes, happening in this knowledge management area in terms of linking farmers to consumers directly. A lot of things happening. You mentioned about the data science and IoTs, which play a very important role in understanding and analyzing this data. Do you think that this kind of new domain, which actually understand data, information, knowledge, also bring a lot of change in the future extension services and advisory, to farmers directly, and also institutionally also we have to relook at our own information processing and knowledge management aspects, especially on the open access things are coming up. Can you kindly say a few ideas on how institutions will transform, how things will transform at farmers level because of this new knowledge management approaches?
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. What, as researchers, as, technologies and all that, what can we be doing in agriculture? Only two things we can be doing. One, we can have the production, enhancement, all the time increasing the yield. Second, we can keep on cutting the costs. Cutting the cost of production. Cutting the cost of production, how? By either we produce more or we enhance the efficiencies. Whatever we apply, we should get more out of it. For example, to give an example of a fertilizer, we don't get more than 40% of what we apply in terms of a plant or the grain. Whatever water we apply, so whatever we apply input, they enhance input use efficiency. So it is in these two approaches only we playing a major role, and that can happen through knowledge agriculture. So when these new technologies are coming in, when these new technologies are coming in, the point is how we are able to equip our graduates with these new tools and techniques about which we ourselves have to have a stronger domain knowledge, and for which we have a lot of collaboration with people who are in the field, because these things are happening. That's why I mentioned the transform changes happening in health sector, in industry, in telecom, in communications. So people keep ask us many times, why does not it happen in agriculture? Of course, one is the societal understanding of agriculture. Things have changed a great deal. They do not appreciate because they get food, all the time. 3 times, they don't know how food is produced. But second thing is, yes, we also have to become smarter and then show the society that we are absolutely there and at what other level, other areas are. Now, in this context, because farming is largely natural resource management dominated, water, soil, climate, and so on. People don't think that technology has made such a big change. We have quantified in any activity, technology has contributed from nearly 18 to 30% is the contribution, the factor productivity from technology. So these points have to be brought in all the time. So our extension colleagues should also be having an idea in whatever areas they are working, what is the contribution of technology to this? And what is the potential for this new range of technologies? If we bring them in, maybe this proportion also will go up. But for that, first of all, our domain knowledge has to increase. Our collaboration, I tell you, whether it's Hyderabad or Bangalore or Chennai or Pune, when we talk to these people, it could be Microsoft, it could be Infosys. So there are any number of people waiting to enter into the agriculture canvas. So only thing is we have to build up that that canvas, that platform, and then tell them what is the problem, because many of them are not familiar with the agri-specific problems. So can we, as a team, work on defining the problems in agriculture where these new technologies can be given an entry? In fact, many people I've spoken to Microsoft people in Hyderabad. They say, sir, we don't know. I mean, we are rank engineers. You tell us when you say water efficiency, nutrient efficiency, energy efficiency. You please tell us. You define the problem. We'll come up with a solution. So I think now the ball is in our court. We have to somehow define the range of issues that we have in agriculture for new range technologies to come in for a transformational agriculture. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for the elaboration. Thank you.
Thank
you. Any more questions from anyone? Yeah.
Good morning, sir. This is Dr. Venkateshwar Rao. Sir, Mira Prasad, Telangana, sir. NGO. Yes, I want to a specific question. Having a very wide experience, you have expressed your experiences for the last so many years you had. and your knowledge is an encyclopedia to the entire country. One hindrance for our agricultural production for the entire globe is a climate. Climate is the main constraint for our agricultural production. That is cyclones, tufans, all those things are, whatever estimation we are doing, all planning, everything is being affected because of tufans, cyclones, and all those things. With this, up to now, we could able to predict the climate for 1 week before. With this knowledge, can we alter the cyclone effect towards some to that divert that action towards ocean, or without affecting any our population or any crop like that? Any research is going on, any plan is going on, so that our main constraint for reduction of production can be hindered or reduced with a development of going to a moon. Can't we do this? This type of knowledge is going on, this type of research is going on. I have got
Mr.
this
Meera
doubt
Prasad.
from the sir.
Mr. Meera Prasad, thank you very much for this question. I am no meteorologist and absolutely no expertise in this area. Only thing is, from an agriculture point of view, what we are doing is two things. See, one is climate resilience. See, what we are basically worried in any crop is moisture and temperature. That is, water and temperature regime. So we are basically concerned with drought or flood. So for this, many times we have brought out drought tolerant varieties, flood tolerant, flood resistant varieties in paddy, flood tolerant varieties. So this is an approach. Now we also had a climate resilient agriculture, sometimes shifting the sowing season little, or bringing some water retention agents into the soil, or mulching. So these kinds of things we are doing. So this is on that side of the climate resilient agriculture. With regard to disasters, of course, some efforts have been there toward disaster management in agriculture, but really not diverting the cyclone and all that. They do happen, inevitable. We lose a lot of things, but even in this loss, can we reduce? Can we mitigate those losses? And so, before when we have a cyclone, warning, can we protect our animals? Can we shift some of these animals to a safer location? Or can we harvest some material beforehand? Or these kinds of things are being worked out, but not really. So we are talking of climate resilient agriculture, but not really, shifting the natural disasters. Thank you very much.
Maybe the last question by Dr.
Venkateshwara sir, KVK Karimnagar, Telangana sir. Sir, thanks for a good presentation on smart farming to India become healthy and happy, sir. It is not suggestion. Definitely, sir, you have clearly mentioned the role to be played by the KVK scientists in future for the welfare of the farming community. Definitely will follow you, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Venkateshwara.
Thank you, sir. Sir, it's a very fantastic presentation, sir. We could get the opportunity of listening to you, sir. Thank you so much. Sir, you have taken us through various areas where the farmers can be smart. And one of the very important thing that you told, and it attracted my attention, and I'm sure everybody must be very much attracted, that is not the distress what our farmers are currently facing, mainly from the rain-fed areas, distress to de-stress. That is what we are looking for, sir. The distress is the thing that should happen among all our farmers, so that their self-esteem goes up, sir. You also talked about inner cry of farmer and their self-esteem, esteem of the farmers, to how we can enhance the esteem of the farmers. So that is the crux of the whole of the problem, sir, and you have addressed that. And all these technologies and the areas where the farmers can be smart can be adopted, very well adopted. And as our Director General has pointed out, before the farmers become smart, even the agricultural extension functionaries need to get smarter. And for that, a lot of human resource development interventions are required, sir. And manage, being a agriculture management institute, I think we'll be now, as you have said, sir, we need to define many problems and look for solutions, and then how the process is to be taken up, and a lot of work is there at our end, sir. Now, sir, thank you so much for a very thought-provoking session, sir, and a lot of food is there for our thoughts now. Thank you so much, sir, from all of us at Manage.
Very much. I'm grateful to the manager and the Director General, Dr. P. Chandrasekhara, for this opportunity. It was nice being with all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
On behalf of Manage family, all the participants, our partner institutions, and other professionals who are present and who are going to see this film in future, Manage family is grateful to you, sir, for your valuable time and very exciting, sharing exciting ideas with us. You talked about not only monsoon market, but also mindset. I think for changing this talk plays very important role. Sir, we have 10 academic centers, and your talk is a great input for all the 10 academic centers for us to revisit our ideas, refine our ideas, and to work out future course of action. Sir, it is pandemic, therefore we are meeting online, but otherwise, Manage will be very, very happy to receive you, sir, when all things normalize. And we would like to meet you in Manage and listen to you, sir. With this hope, again, I would like to thank you wholeheartedly, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So with this, we end this session, sir. Looking forward, sir. Thank you.